We have a little bit of time. That was so exciting. Thank you, Juilliard. It's for those of you that are still younger, not quite at master's level yet, those of you watching at home, go rewind how everybody entered the stage. That was exciting. They came in prepared, open, willing to try things, positive, ready to share what they do, and not apologetic and not arrogant and not all these other things that the audience really has no patience or desire for. That was great, and such open, experimental stuff. Thank you. That's a joy. Questions? Anybody? Yes.
How do you handle your rough days?
Which ones?
Like the days that are really hard on you and you're doubting yourself and you kind of just want to quit.
How do you handle the rough days? And especially if you get to the point where you say, I just want to quit. There's going to be a lot of rough days in what we do, because I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but you're under a microscope, and that microscope only intensifies and gets better resolution the longer you stay in this. But what you're working on is all the things that aren't right yet. And you should be working on those things. That's how you grow as an artist. That's the task of what you're trying to do here as a musician, as an opera singer, is endless and very, very deep. It's going to take a lot of effort. So I think what you do is, first of all, what I do is I allow myself to break down and be upset and cry and sometimes rage or rant or just, do the ugly cry for a while. But then I just prefer to find a way to be proactive rather than to stay in that place, because I know that place is not helping anybody, most of all myself. I'll try and filter what has happened to understand if there's some truth in there, if there's something I need to examine within myself. And instead of looking at that as being a failure as a musician or singer or human being, and instead of jumping to the conclusion that I have no business doing this, or jumping to the conclusion that I may as well just quit, I'd rather give it the benefit of the doubt and say, let me see how I can examine this and learn what I need to learn from it. And that has been a very good friend to me, because there has always been something I needed to learn from those, I call them like these gut check moments. Sometimes it's just crisis management, like don't cry till the end of the rehearsal and you're in your dressing room. That would be bad. If it happens, it happens, but sometimes it's just crisis management like that, so you do whatever you have to do to get in it. But I want to surround myself with proactive rather than reactionary methods. And I usually come out having learned what I need to learn. It does get a little bit easier. That doesn't mean the bad days stop happening. Sometimes they flood in. But with a little bit more experience, you trust that there's going to be a lesson in there for you. So you can not panic quite as much, not decompress quite as much, and you'll get through it with time. The other thing I'd say is don't surround yourself with people that are just yes people, that go, I know, you should have gotten that role because I don't know what she's doing, and you should have, and that just feed that world. That's very easy to fall into in the music world in particular. It's not helping anybody. Might make you feel good temporarily, but it's not helping anybody. Have that moment, but then cut it and say, it feels good, so if you need to go there, go there. But then say, you know what? Maybe, but now she has the role, so okay, I'm covering her, so how can I deal with this, or whatever. And then get positive, proactive plan of action to help you through it. Otherwise, what's the alternative? You quit out of spite? You quit out of frustration? You can. You're totally welcome to do that, but I don't think you're going to appreciate that down the road. So, and what I work on is trying to shorten that gap of panic more and more and more. And it's possible if you put your mind to it. Yeah. It also helps to know that everybody has the bad days. Trust me. Yeah.
How would you describe the feeling for you when you're just completely in line and totally vulnerable and really doing your best singing? How does that feel for you? I don't know if that's too personal.
No, we've done the personal questions here. I'm ready for them now. How does it feel when I really let myself go and am vulnerable and sort of in the zone of it all? Yeah?
Yeah, and just doing when you feel that it's, you're really letting yourself do your best.
Yeah, when I'm letting go, letting myself do my best singing. How do you describe that? It's like flying. It depends a little bit too what I'm doing. But it usually mimics the emotion at hand. But so the feeling can change. If I'm singing piangerò, but in the letting myself go, I'm really there. I'm not crying, but I'm in that line of emotion. If I'm doing tanti affetti, I'm kind of flying. But what the overall thing that I feel is I disappear, time disappears, effort disappears, concentration is always there. Concentration is always, Dr. George Gibson from Wichita State University told me early on that you always have to keep 10% there. So concentration is always there. It's very easy to just cross that line and then you've gone too far. But that's your job, you have to keep it in. But effort disappears, I disappear, time disappears, the singing disappears, the music disappears, the audience disappears. We just congeal into this moment. It's kind of how it feels. Doesn't happen all the time. It does, and this is also important, I don't judge myself if it hasn't happened every time. That's important, because I don't know that it can. It's dependent on myself, and I'm different every day, even if I'm singing the same role. It's dependent on the orchestra, it's dependent on the audience. There's a lot of factors that are out of your control. But when they miraculously align, I suppose it's what happens when you listen to music too. It's just things fall away, and you're just there. It can be pretty cool. Hi.
At the beginning of this class, you mentioned process, and so I was wondering, I feel like in our process, we at times we get impatient, we're much to the stage, and we feel that sometimes things become routine and repetitive. So what's the best time to maximize our time in our process, and also what is the best way in order to enjoy our process so that we don't become bogged down by it?
Yeah, that's a great question. She's asking about process, and you guys are inundated in the process right now. Coaching, get it right, all this. And how do you keep it fresh? How do you keep the joy in that? Sometimes you won't. That's the truth. Sometimes it's just work. I was a pianist for a little while, and I had to do Czerny exercises. There's not a lot of joy in Czerny, right? But the joy comes from knowing that by having the dedication to doing that technical drilling, that technical aspect, the joy will arrive because it gives you greater freedom with your instrument. That's the joy. I love vocalizing. I guess I'm such a geek. And I have different agendas for different exercises. I'm always trying to make them musical so that I always feel there's still an expressive expression of who I am as a musician. I'm playing chords under the scales, and I play up the different chords so that I'm reminding myself to sing in the harmony of things. If your desire is to be a better artist, and your desire is to go deeper into things, you will find the motivation. And if you're stuck, you have to ask yourself what's happening. We've talked about this a little bit before too, about being really honest with yourself. Because it's easy to say, I know how this goes. God, why do I have to keep doing this? I've done this 20 times and I've got it. That's easy. And that will get you here. What did Pablo Casals say, the cellist said? He's 90, why do you still practice? Because I think I'm improving. There is always more to learn. It might be more freedom. It might be your colleague needs you there to bounce something off of. You can be a better colleague that way. It might be that you're going to try something different color-wise or vocalizing things. You can always use that process if you're curious, if you're searching, if you're open to discovery, if you're open to just putting in the work and getting a little bit better, a little bit better. With every time that you do it, you're gaining confidence. So that one day you wake up and you feel really shaky for whatever reason, it's a bad day, the voice isn't quite working, you can look back, this kind of a 10,000 hour philosophy, you can look back and go, no, I know what I'm doing because I've done it 500 times. But then you've built it into your head, to your voice, to your body, that it knows what it's doing even if you don't feel it that day. The worst thing you guys could do at this stage, or at any stage really, is to assume that you know all there is to know about Mozart, all there is to know about Carabino, all there is to know about your passaggio, all there is to know about mastering French. You're never going to get it. So for me, curiosity, there's a time to be patient and there's a time to be impatient, figuring out what those things are. So you know when to assert yourself for the benefit of the music, the benefit of the project, the benefit of the show. And when you just be patient and wait for the light bulb to click or the next stage to click in. But that's one of your biggest challenges at this point, is dealing with the process. The more you master it now for yourself, the more unique and the more authentic and personal you will be as an artist. And you won't be relying on conductors to tell you how to phrase. We won't be relying on coaches to bring music. You're going to be the engine of that. And that, for me, comes through process. I think maybe one more quick question. Or we have to go. Just one last question, then we go. Yes.
From your personal experience and also experience with your colleagues, being a professional musician and also having a life, have you seen any patterns in people's priorities for happiness?
Wow. I thought it was going to be, what's your favorite role? If anybody has to leave, because I know we've gone a little bit over time, please do so, and don't feel strangely about it. I'm sorry, I always go over at Juilliard. My apologies. Priorities for happiness or patterns of happiness?
That people have that they seem generally happy, like fulfilled in multiple aspects.
The truth is, it's going to be different for everybody. It really will. And chances are those priorities will shift a lot throughout the career. You're a young soprano and you have the biggest ambition in the world, and you work hard and you make it to the top and you fall in love and you want to have a child. Whew. Shift of priority. You want more than anything to have this career, and you work and you work and you work and you work, and you hit 31 and you can't find management, and you didn't get into the young artist programs, but you thought that's what would have made you happy. Got to shift the priority. Life is going to pummel you and pull you around like a roller coaster with no end. So what I have seen is the people, the work they've done and the priority they've made is understanding themselves. And that becomes the constant. Not the career, not the family, not the life, not the success, not the failure, not the paycheck, not the competition, themselves. And so as life does what it will do, as sure as taxes, it will whip you around. If this is constant, then you can find serenity. Happiness is sometimes a bit elusive. I'm a proponent. I'm a happy person. It's my nature, but I know not everybody is. And I work for happiness on my own. Serenity is a really good goal. Is a really good goal. And that work does not happen anywhere else but here. Some people do yoga. Some people run marathons. Some people have lovers in every city looking for stuff. I mean, people go out in a lot of different ways in search of that serenity. What I've found for me, this has been such an incredible teacher. What I've had to learn through the poetry, through the music, through the process, pulling my hair out, through the rejections, through the success, through the stories, through the performances, through the people. I've learned more about myself. In a way, this has been my pathway to serenity so that I've learned more about myself. But I'm pretty sure, as life has thrown me curveballs in all this, I keep my priority on finding that. Because life will be pretty wicked to you at times, and it'll be pretty fabulous to you at times. And I don't like to depend on external factors. I'm going to have to deal with them. But if I can depend on myself and my journey, then I will weather the storm. Maybe not immediately, but I'll get there. And I know that. Does that help? Awesome. You guys, thank you so much. The singers, y'all were fabulous. Thank you, guys. See you next time.